Welcome to Atlanta Brickco TV, the best place for Lego podcast here in Atlanta Brickco at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Today we've got some very special guests. We got Tim and Zach from Season 2 of Lego Masters, some personal friends of mine representing the Great Wild North. And they are here to answer some cool questions and just talk about their experience on Season 2. So how you guys doing?
Doing good.
Really
doing
good. Really good.
We actually classify as pure Michigan, right? It's up north, pure Michigan. So you got to get that part right?
Copyright. Rights reserved, pure Michigan. I like it. That's awesome. I'm a big fan of Michigan. My mom's from there. I visited a couple times. I haven't since watching or being on Season 2. So when I do, I'll have to meet up with all the amazing people up in the kind of Midwest Michigan area. There's a bunch of contestants in that area. It's really...
because there's nothing to do during the winter.
Build Lego. Very cool. Well, let me just kind of dive into some questions for you guys, and then we'll hopefully be able to plug some of the stuff. I know you guys have so many cool projects and conventions you're working on. We want to hear about that. But the first one I like to start people off was what was the best moment for you guys on Lego Masters? What was the one thing that really stuck out to you guys as a specific memory?
I'm going to let you go first.
It has nothing to do with the show.
Nothing to do with the show. Wow. Okay, let's hear it.
Absolutely nothing to do. So we're sitting in the hotel room, eating Chinese food. One of the days it was a half day or whatever. I think it was a Saturday night, and we had a relatively easy day. We were sitting there eating Chinese food, and I was just we were just talking about it. And I like that. That was my favorite part because that's what we did. We just kind of had little debriefs after the day and Chinese.
Are you talking about you and I doing that, or was that with the whole group?
No, that was you and I.
Oh, right,
You
yeah.
and I. When we were in the hotel, because we were breaking the rules. We drove there together. We were why do we have to quarantine?
No, I mean, father, son, you're on a team. I think they wouldn't worry too much about you still.
Yeah, I mean, for me too, the adventure and the whole Lego Master experience was pretty awesome. It was pretty epic, but it really only has that epicness when you do it with people that you like or people that you want to hang out with, right? So obviously the very first part of it is the ability to be able to do that kind of an adventure with Zach. But then, to be honest, the surprise for me was how much we really connected with all of the other contestants, like you yourself and everybody else. That was to me, that was probably my favorite part of the entire Lego Master experience. Is just now I feel like we've got a family of friends. I mean, it's not obviously our immediate family, but they're definitely our family, and they definitely feel like we're brothers,
Exactly. Hey, bro, how you doing? Yeah, it's definitely. I gotta agree with you, Tim, and Zach too, for the quiet moments between all the chaos and action. The thing that really stuck with me leaving was that it's these guys were the best crew of people, Lego fans. I mean, it's all different walks of life, all over the country, but it's everybody just totally gelled. We were just almost like you're saying, almost family, and it really is amazing. So really appreciative of that, and just awesome to be able to kind of move forward with everybody, just being a group. It's awesome. We're such a team, big team.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, absolutely. Right. And we get after each other too. I mean, so don't let us fool you. We'll get after each other, but it's fun. It's kind of like the brotherly teasing in a very positive way, right? So.
Exactly. It's a true family, and the fact there's a little teasing and we keep each other honest, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. The next question I got for you guys is, what is to you guys the most interesting challenge on Lego Masters? And it doesn't have to be from our season. It could be from any season, it could be from international. What was one Lego Masters challenge that absolutely was really cool to you guys? You'd love to try, or you've already tried and it was really amazing. What do you guys think?
I wanted to do the bridge one, to be honest with you.
You're talking about extending from the wall?
No,
or
not
the bridge
that
one
the
previously?
bridge one. So
Season
one.
Yeah.
So I would say out of all of the different ones, the one that really kind of stands out, and the one that really put us in the position to understand what Lego Master was all about, was that bridge challenge. Because as soon as that one came on TV, we weren't watching that together, and I called Zach and I said, Zach, you got to see this. And so he came in and we were watching that together, and I said, I know based on some of the skill stuff, and we knew immediately when they started putting the pieces together, we knew that they didn't have enough weight because we had tested some stuff, and we knew that they weren't anywhere close, because we knew it was just okay, they're using that intertwining. And then Tyler, and that's what Zach said immediately. He's like, that's what we would have done. Yep. That's exactly how we would have done it too. So it would have been an interesting one to be a participant in, but obviously we know now that there's a really incredible strength way to build based on that technique of putting those plates on sideways.
Yeah, definitely one of the highlights of season 1 for sure. And like such an epic episode when they got to 1,000 pounds. Like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. It was definitely a good choice. Yeah. So you guys are builders. You both built some awesome castles before. What was for you guys the most useful element in the brick pit? Like, what was something that you just really found to be awesome? I know that there's a limited selection, yet a lot of selection. But what was something that was like you found yourselves using quite a bit?
Snots. I mean,
Yeah,
we ended
used
up
a
using
lot of
snots
bricks and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
They
I would
had
say
a lot of
snots were
like-
probably those and slopes. Those were the two things because the slopes gave you used a lot of slopes when we were
well, 'cause
crafting
that's really,
stuff.
really what
We
we
had
had.
Yeah.
Like,
The only
we're gonna use
exception
these.
the only exception to using the slope was when we were building the city, which the shaker challenge, right? That was the only time we didn't use a lot of slopes except for at the very peak to start
Yeah,
to file it down to make it look like a
an actual roof.
like
Yeah.
a skyscraper kind of a thing. And that was the only time we used that on there. But everything else we had slopes and different pieces. And then even some of the stuff, like for example, in the parade one, we had a mountain built in the background that never made it onto TV
Because we cut
because
it out.
we like in the last hour we just like,
We were like,
okay, that's
"No,
it.
hate it.
we
The worst.
hate that part. So we just ripped
Cut
that
it
whole thing out, put a
Oh,
put something
my,
different
wow.
in. Yeah, that was in the last hour of that first challenge that we did because it was just like it's not going to work. That looks terrible. It's just this white blob right behind this thing. It's like what the heck? So we
I
just
don't know what we were thinking in the first half.
well,
But
it mentally it looked good. I mean,
It was a background, yeah.
it looked good, but then when we got it on like the paper, it was like, was
no,
that
we're not
actually
doing
what we
that.
wanted
No,
to
we're
look
not doing
like?
that. So,
Yeah. Well, yeah. So definitely slopes and headlight bricks. Gotta agree. Those are like go-tos for mock building. So awesome. Now we talked about our season as like being a big team, a family, and it was really great to really hang out and meet all of you. But at the same time, they split us up later in the season, and like so we were on our own. But what if they were to do like a switcheroo, and you had to be randomly paired up with somebody from our season? Who would you really like to get paired up with, and why? If you weren't on a team together and you got split up and everybody on season 2 is rotated, who would you want to be with?
I don't know. Honestly, I'd be okay with half of them. I would be okay with. See, some of them, I'm not sure how well we would have worked together because we're both
Styles.
more, like how like the building style or like how our personalities mesh. I'm not sure how that would have worked sometimes, but 90% of everybody goes. Like I was I would be fine with anybody.
See, I look at it from a different perspective because when we stepped into it, I always look at the strategic makeup of the teams and how things actually work together. And I know that from Lego Master side of things, they're also looking at that because they want the interaction. They're looking at a lot of different components that it's not just a technical skill. It's also how do you work together? How do you communicate? What are your skill sets?
Yep.
Right, exactly. There's a
Dynamic.
lot of things that go into creating a team. So asking that question, I find it, my strategic mind kind of kicks in. And that aspect is, I know that I was basically the visionary of creating the design. Like, okay, what exactly are we going to develop? Zach was a lot more on the technical side of things where he would be like, putting together the individual pieces and saying, okay, this is how we can do it to make it look better or how things can function. So if we were going to split and I was like realistically trying to figure out who would I pair with, I would look for somebody that I've never built from a technical side. So in other words, I wouldn't be good paired with Moto or Paris or even Dave and Richard because they're a lot more on the technical side. Same thing with Zach. I mean, not taking anything away from their styles and their builds, but they're not the type or the style that I would normally think it. So somebody along the lines of Michelle and Natalie, where they're kind of out of the box kind of creators, even yourself and your brother. And then I don't really know the style of Randall or Sarita.
They're kind of
they were back and forth on some.
They had the color though.
Go for, which was good.
But see, Wayne and I would be a terrible team. Because we both think in that big area, kind of we're both visionaries, and Wayne and I would be a terrible team together.
That would be terrible.
I mean, seriously, it would be. So it's like I start thinking about that. If I could pick somebody, I could probably narrow it down to 4 or 5. But for the most part, it has to be somebody that is able to do part of the technical side, because that, if anywhere, that's the area that I struggle with, is just kind of understanding some of the part usage. I'm not nearly as talented as Zach
Creative
is.
part usage, I should say.
Yeah,
If it's very standardized part usage, then and if someone like is there to like tell you the new technique to use this part, usually you're fine with it. But it's like when
like that software, that sketching software that we started using at the very beginning.
You love that.
Yeah.
I was like all over that. I was just like, dude, this is cool. I'm like,
when we were getting the training for it or whatever, he was like, I want this. I want to take this home with me.
Those were nice.
It's just like, I understand the premise. Take it. It's not my thing.
So something that never made it on TV because this was all in our practice. I actually sketched out Chapel Rock on that pad.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, because I had the whole entire sketch of Chapel Rock while they were telling us to do it. I just went ahead. So
he's like showing it to us and like.
And I was just like, hey, look, I got this. It's Chapel.
Very
so it's the
cool,
back
very
of our.
cool.
In case anybody doesn't know what Chapel Rock is. Pictured Rocks is the national forest. Chapel Rock is the one that's on the back of the Michigan State Court. So I literally sketched out Chapel Rock on that little pad because I was just like, hey, let's do this. So anyway, that's my mind. That's where I'm at.
So yeah, so Zach is pretty like you could pair up with most of it as long as the creative styles are similar enough. And I think that like if you're on Lego Masters, you're pretty creative. Tim, you're looking more for somebody who could get the creative side of things going because you're more of the visionary, the planner, that help keep things streamlined. So you need that creative element to help mesh.
I need the technical element.
Technical element, yeah.
Technical element of that. I mean, other than the second challenge, I think I came up with all of the ideas. You had the second challenge. You knew exactly. That was the hero shot, right?
Yeah.
You came up with that one immediately. You're like, this is what we're going to do. And I was like, yeah, let's do it.
That's awesome. Cool. Being on Lego Masters, you are probably getting recognized out in the wild. And so people have seen the show, they see you guys, they talk to you, they come up and say hi. When was the most unusual place? Is there something that you remember as like a really funny instance when a fan was interacting with you? Is there anything that comes to mind? Because I'm sure you have like conventions and stuff, people see you. What is something that you got?
Conventions, we expect to see it at conventions. Like we just expect that.
But it's actually funny. I got a funny story about conventions.
It is. Every once in a while, I have an older brother, and every once in a while we'll be like walking out of somewhere. And somebody he'll be like, hey, I think that person just like took a picture of you.
Yeah, so it's like this. It's like you see somebody kind of put the camera up and they're just like,
they're
like
not
this.
sure. They're not quite confident enough in order to be like, yeah, I'm going to go interact with this individual, but they're pretty sure.
Yeah.
And so they're like send it to their friends
or they're Googling it real quick. Yep.
Yeah, that happened. Yeah, that happened.
I have that happen all the time where it's like, happened. Okay, let me look this up because I'm not 100% certain. So then they like look it up and they're looking at their phone, then they look at you and then they're like, I think that, and then they'll come up all sheepishly and be like, hi, how are you?
That happened to me when I was out with a friend one time. They were across the bar and I could see them kind of getting their pictures up and they're holding it up like they were holding the phone up and stuff. But it's interesting because I find this to be the case when the show was on and airing. That's when some of that stuff was happening. But more recently, because now obviously we've got about a year or so under our belt since the last episode was on, and now I was at Milwaukee in the last Brick World, and I had somebody come up to me deadpan serious, like, hey, I know there's going to be Lego Masters here. Do you know when they're going to be here? Do you know when they're going to show up? Do you know when they're going to be doing the meet and greets? Do you know when, like, great. Deadpan? I'm like, yeah, they're around. Yeah, I know they're around. Just kind of have to look around, and I'm sure that there's probably a couple around, and maybe you can even talk to them, and I'm sure they're probably great people. Like that happens more and more now, and it's hilarious.
Oh my goodness.
In our shop, we have a store, and we have people that come in and like huge fans of Lego Masters. You guys ever watch that show? You ever see? Man, my favorite team was the father-son team from this last season.
It's great.
Never recognize us.
Oh my goodness.
We let them walk out the door too. Yeah, we let them totally leave. It's so great.
Maybe they'll realize it. One day they'll be like, oh my gosh, it was them.
The kids pulling on mom and dad's shirt, hey, that's them.
I watched them.
That's funny. That's pretty wild. So people will come into the store and they'll be like, I heard there was a Lego Master worked here, Steven. I'm like, oh yeah, he works on weekends. You have to catch him. You just gotta play it cool. It's hilarious. So sometimes you run into that. It's pretty funny. Is there anything Lego related that you guys learned on Lego Masters and like to apply today?
Lego related.
It
quantifies.
Don't suck at Lego.
Words to live by, Zach.
There's a couple things that I learned, but they're all like little techniques. So like,
Yeah.
I can't give you an exact example, but like
The motion.
I kind of figured out motion, but I'm still kind of on the struggle bus with that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so a little bit of motion, little small techniques.
Not my thing. Like I love what you guys did with like the lift arm. That was smart because I was like, man, that was so easy that like you can't mess that up. And I was like,
We had one technique and we murdered it.
Yeah, our first one, we were struggling like crazy to try to get that clock tower to turn and do different things. And then finally it was just like, oh, forget it. We're going to do just, so can we tell them?
With our counterclockwise? Yeah, go for it. Do it.
So we were struggling just to get the motion on the
set off so well. And I was just like, oh yeah, I totally did. It was supposed to be counter.
So in the clock tower, our clock actually rotated clockwise. That was a total accident. But Jamie calls it out.
Hey,
he's like,
I love that it's going
love that it's going clockwise.
And
We're like, oh yeah.
Yeah,
So we
I
did.
totally messed that.
So that was
a 50-50 shot, and I happened to
Hey.
score. Like,
Yeah, I'm like you guys. I keep a digital watch because I don't even know. I can't even read around clock. And clockwise is like I get left and right mixed up. So that I completely relate to that situation. Congratulations. Yeah.
It just has to work. That's all.
We didn't care
Doesn't
at
matter.
all about
It just has to work. And then if it would have gone backwards, we would
have still put it on there.
Yeah, it would have still gone. Yeah. No.
Yeah, that's pretty sharp of Jamie though. He can just look at something and know, oh, it's going clockwise. Obviously, that's funny. All right.
Of course.
That's what we planned.
That is exactly what we were shooting for. Now that you pointed it out.
Exactly. All part of the plan. Anyway, yeah. Looking forward, you guys mentioned a couple times conventions. What are some of your favorite conventions, and what are some conventions that we can hopefully see you guys at in the future this year?
So our favorite is Brick World. It's really where we got our start. The easiest way for me to explain that is when I first recognized that Zach had an extraordinary talent inside of Lego, we started doing searches for Lego shows or Lego festivals or whatever. And we came across Brick World because that's in our area. I believe the
Midwest thing.
Yeah. So we found Novi, and there was a Brick World that was just south of us by about 2 hours.
Nice.
We contacted them and said, hey, we'd like to be able to display, show, do these different things. And they said, Novi is invite only. If you want to do anything, you've got to go to Chicago first, and then we'll see what your production, what you can do. And then maybe we'll invite you to Novi, which that was great. That's the process. So we ended up displaying at Brick World Chicago. And at that point in time, because he was under 18, I had to put both of our names on it. Realistically, if I hadn't done that, where we had both of our names on it, we probably would have never gotten the call asking us to apply for Lego Masters. So it's because of Brick World that we were actually invited to be able to apply, to go through that whole process, to be able to come and then finally be on Lego Masters, right? So there's a passion, there's a kind of a loyalty that we have towards Brick World. Mark owns that now. Mark is a great guy to work with. I really enjoy working with him. So we've now contracted, kind of a loose agreement kind of a thing. It's not an actual contract, but it's an agreement where we'll go in and we actually do building challenges. They're called kid building challenges at all of the Brick Worlds. So if you are anywhere, Milwaukee, Indiana, Fort Wayne, Novi, Chicago, I think that's all the ones he's got right now.
That's all the ones he's got right now. Yeah, right now.
So we come in there, and then at 11, it's typically this way, 11 a.m. and 2 p.m., we'll have an hour kid challenge build that's kind of loosely based off of what a Lego Master Challenge. Obviously, it's not the same, but it kind of gives that feel,
not
right?
So much lights.
Yeah, there's not all that extra. But we do that, and every time there's so many awesome stories that come out of those build challenges. Everything from, man, I could probably spend an hour giving you story after story of how these kids are just so excited. It's the best day ever, kind of a excitement level. One kid did it 2 years in a row. We did it now twice in Milwaukee. He came back the second time. I wrote a blog post about it because he won the second year, utterly disappointed the first year. I don't want to, spoil the ending and all that, but it was a really great little kind of vignette. Awesome stuff. So we are pretty much always going to be at a Brick World at those locations. Then we also get invited to other ones. There are some craft and vendor stuff. There's what we call the Big Ticket Festival locally. We've got invited to be able to do some events there, some build challenges, also some races. We have festivals. Michigan is big on festivals.
Local festivals. We're at a lot of them.
Yeah, and then the festivals, we actually get contracted in to be able to do whether it's a build challenge. We actually have like a group building kind of a thing where we'll do some kind of a organized build. We have pullback cars that we do where they're racing the pullback cars, but we'll come in and we'll actually create that event, which is a great family oriented, kid oriented event for festivals, and then obviously attracts a lot of people. So we're kind of combining our love of Lego, the celebrity of Lego Masters, along with all of the local festivals, and we contract with people to be able to do those events.
That is really cool. And one observation I had is that you guys started, first of all, at the beginning. You had one show. You had the only public one. You weren't able to be invited to those at first, and as a family, as you father and son. And now, a couple years later, you guys are not only at every show, you're also literally teaching and organizing classes for the next generation. So you guys have gone full circle. You started at the beginning, and you now are at the top of your game at every show, invited to be there in with the organizers. That's really cool to see that transformation and where you guys are at with that. That's really
our
inspiring.
passion, though. I mean, that's what when we entered into Lego Master, that was our passion. It was to say we can show a positive father-son relationship. There's something healthy about being able to relate between a parent and a child. And oftentimes parents struggle because either it wasn't passed down or they just never experienced that. And our goal, our story from Lego Master was to be able to say, yes, it can happen. And now we take that and we go into, whether it's a festival, a brick world, a Lego event, whatever it is, we go into that with that same passion of, you guys can connect. You guys can find the passion between and use Lego as that means to connect.
Exactly. Yeah. Like in the same way that we were able to connect with all these different people from different backgrounds on the show, Lego works the same way everywhere. And you guys are such amazing ambassadors of the family element of that. And it's really super inspiring. I'm proud of you guys. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm feeling goosebumps right now. I'm literally, it's awesome. So very cool. So yeah, you'll be at a couple of those shows. Will you be bringing any of your creations as well? I know you guys build like landscapes and castles. Are you guys pretty much, do you have time for creations?
I have a couple that technically haven't been shown at Chicago because Chicago's been like
it was postponed because of COVID
for the last couple of years. So technically I do. If you've been in any of the other 4 shows, you've probably seen 2 or 3 of them. But honestly, I have like 4 things, and Ellie's bringing something. And
we're actually doing a full family kind of a thing.
Because we're just like
we don't have time to build like we used to.
I have stuff for like the window display, and like that's great. Before shutting down the store, I could pull the windows.
Pull it. Yeah,
we don't need to worry about that.
If you have a picture,
because of Alpine brick, there's a lot of stuff that we built. We built a tower. And they have different scenes inside of that tower, right? So we have all of that. What we put, you can't take a tower with you. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Yeah. And then we have a window display that's a medieval type village, and it's kind of laid out. And there's a castle up on a hill. And
you should inform them that the tower's got 2.
Oh yeah, it's got 2 2x4s going right through it. So it's literally the tower.
It's not moving.
It's not going anywhere. So it's there. So. It's fun, but it's what it is.
So you guys mentioned Alpine Brick Exchange. You want to tell me a little bit about that and how that got started and how that's going? in a soundbite.
Yeah, so if I was going to sum it up, basically the reason why we started Alpine Brick is to have a base point through which we could display the soul of the company.
Yeah, and to like legitimize what we're doing. So it's not like, hey, come send your kid to a Lego class that you have nothing, there's no like legitimacy to
an HQ.
Who we say we are.
Yeah, so and that's where we've had several people come in and ask us, like, what do you guys do? And the first response that everybody looks at is like, oh, we have used Lego that we sell, or something. We create our own. Yeah, we have that, but that's not the reason why we started the store. The reason we started the store was to be the connector, and I've used that word so many times, but that's what it is. It's the connector. I had a mom come in, and Zach knows this, but Zach was the one in there talking with the child. She sent me a message afterwards and said, I know you guys didn't know this, but my son is autistic, and I've never seen this side of him when he came into your store, he came alive and he had a great conversation. And it was almost like he was a normal type individual. Not that autistic isn't, but it was just that he came alive. And she said, I've never seen that side of him. And that's the soul of the company, right? That's what we want to do. We've had multiple times where we've had individuals that are either struggling with some kind of a mental health, or they haven't. I had a 40-year-old guy come in and his 60-year-old father, they hadn't really connected, and they bought a set in order to be able to connect with each other. And we're talking a 40-year-old man with a 60-year-old grandfather kind of a situation that they're using this. That's the passion that we want to bring. That's what we want to try to accomplish. So whether it's a Lego and latte or a brick and beer or whatever it is, we want to make sure that that is what we are producing, talking about, because it's those family touch points that allow a family unit to become stronger, healthier, and leave that legacy that we're really looking for.
That is really cool. So you have a store, but it's much more than that. It's really a springboard, as it were, for all the other outreach things that you do, and representing family values and connecting and kind of healing relationships. So that's really inspirational stuff, guys. That is cool. That's awesome. That, I think, will conclude the first part of the interview, but we're going to just talk just a little bit about season 3. That's kind of why we're doing all these videos on the channel. I know you're already getting a little... Well, I agree with you guys. Season 2 is the best season. I mean, it's just the facts. But, season 3 is coming up, so we got to play along. So, you guys probably saw the teaser video, or not yet?
I have not.
Yeah, it was just the...
I have not. I didn't...
There's 2 things on that. Basically, the first thing is the fact that you see Will Arnett, which is normal, and then you saw the picture of the people. That was it. So, like, other than that, I haven't really watched or seen or, like, I
dug into, because I know that there's, like, these guys out there on YouTube who are always like, and this person's Instagram
they break down
account,
frame by frame.
This one is this, and it's like, no.
yeah, that's a bit much. Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. So
I mean, like, for the season 3, from a surface level, I watched the promotion thing, but I am not going to go down the rabbit trail of speculation.
Gotcha.
Like, I just don't know what it's going to be like. I don't know. Obviously, there's a lot of rumors. There's a lot of hearsay. There's a lot of people like, this is exactly how. I'm like, I am not going to do that. I'm just like, this is, I don't know. Let's see what it is. I don't know.
Yeah, that's for sure. I there's people who are trying to get like pinpoint little details and map it all out. I'm just like, you're kind of spoiling it for yourself here. Just if you're going to enjoy the show, just watch it and be surprised and enjoy it, but yeah. So anyway,
well, let me add to that, because this is a really good point.
He's gonna add to it.
I'm gonna add to that, because exactly, you're talking about everybody trying to, the magic of TV. They can take anything from the season 1, season 2, because they have literally hours, hundreds and thousands of hours of editing and stuff that was all left on the editing floor, kind of a thing. They can pull anything from any one of those, and you have no idea, because they're using that to be able to promote season 3. So until it actually comes out, you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's interesting. Yep. One question about season 3 I have for you guys is the first season of Lego Masters in the United States was very story driven, artistic. There was like a little bit of, like, there was a bridge and some other cool technical challenges, but I think it was way more creative bent than our season was. I think our season was much more technical. It always had to survive something or do something. There was a lot of, basically, motors were in every other challenge. There was a few that were mostly creative, but it doesn't even have to be off of what we've seen already, but just kind of like, what do you think the producer's mind is going to be? Are they going to lean towards story again, or are they going to stick with technical? I'm of the opinion that it's going to be pretty technical, because I think that season 2 had more wow and pizzazz and all that stuff. What do you guys think is in store for season 3?
I kind of agree with you, Mark. I'm gonna be like, I kind of think that because of how well we did in season.
Yeah, exactly. Pat ourselves in the back. Yeah.
Because of how well we did and how they looked really good, I think that it will have a lot of technical driven element. However, I wouldn't throw out the idea of it being artistic, having artistic, displays or whatever, or challenges. So I think it could fall in the middle, to be honest with you. But I probably would lean more towards technical if I had to choose one.
My hope would be, and especially after meeting so many different people, the reason why they watched the show was because it was a family event. And that family event, they created a wholesome story. We had friendly competition. And the body of our soul, like the soul of season 2, when, well, whatever, the soul of the season 2.
Yeah.
When Will went to Wayne and said, hey, I want you to talk smack against the other brothers. And he goes and he says, hey, you guys are doing a good job. I was like, that embodied everything of who we were, right? Because we were cheering each other on, and we weren't competing against each other. We weren't trying to talk negatively about each other. We were cheering each other on, and we were saying that we're racing against the clock and about the infinite possibilities of what we can create. That's what the families love. That's what the families want to see. And I hope that they carry that forward. But my opinion is like a bag of rocks, and you can drop it off somewhere according to the producers. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying, Tim. Our season, I think, even if they try to make it look more competitive or a little bit salty or edgy, there really wasn't any of that. It was all really good-spirited, very family-friendly. Families come up to me every now and then. They'll be like, we love your show because everyone can watch it and everyone enjoys it. Like from the youngest kid to the grandparents.
I've heard that so many times. And I mean, as we watch the seasons, I think the most tension that we had on the entire season was you and your brother. When your brother tripped over the electric cord.
Yeah. Oh.
That was
I just about passed out.
We were all like, oh, he's getting yelled at.
Yeah, Steven doesn't like it when I talk about it, but he is notorious for tripping over cords. It doesn't matter what cord, but if there's a cord, he'll trip over it, and it without fail. So
yeah, but I think that was the most tension, which is okay. I mean, like that's a healthy kind of contention.
Yeah, because it wasn't it wasn't like you were overstepping, and it wasn't like he like.
Yeah, we weren't fighting or anything. It just happens, you know. Stuff. Lego is fragile and stuff. So yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, hopefully that I also share your concerns with that, Tim, because it is at the end of the day, it's a reality TV show produced by an American TV company, and they're coming from a background that's different from what we like to see. They're thinking like, what is going to get the headlines? What's going to get the wow, the drama? They want people yelling at each other. It's like so, and it's
right, and that scares me a lot due to the fact that some of the producers are also on. Like big, and this you can look this up on the IMBD kind of site, but they're also doing Survivor and Big Brother, and some of them have worked on Bachelor, Bachelorette, and I don't watch that stuff because it's not healthy. It's not healthy, right? It's not a healthy kind of environment. Yeah. So I really hope that they don't go that route, but we'll see.
We'll see. Yep. On that tenuous note, it has been awesome chatting with you guys. Really great to hear what you guys are working on and all the inspirational stuff that is going on. I will be seeing you guys at least one of these shows. Chicago, I plan on being there. A lot of season 2 will be there. So for those of you watching at home, if you have a little travel time this summer, Father's Day weekend in June, you got to stop by and get some autographs from all the awesome season 2 contestants and probably some season 3. We'll see. Thanks for watching this episode, guys. We sure appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the like, comment, and subscribe buttons on your way out. And we'll see what season 3 is like. Is it going to be drama? Is it going to be family friendly? Are we going to see all that wholesomeness? We'll see. Let us know in the comments what you think is going to happen.